Welcome to the Are You Annie podcast, where those who have walked through fire or still walking through fire come to find their way to the other side of narcissistic abuse. I'm your host, Kyle Hackley, attorney, mother, grandmother, and author of Undercurrent, a novel about a young woman named Annie who breaks free from her narcissistic husband. Annie's story is real. Undercurrent is a fiction. Her story is real, and one that many of you will recognize because narcissistic abuse follows a pattern. The manipulation, the gaslighting, the false hope of change. It's a cycle that so many survivors, or as I like to say, warriors, have lived through. And one of the hardest truths to accept is this: a narcissist will never change, because true change requires self-awareness, accountability, and empathy. All the things a narcissist fundamentally lacks. They don't see themselves as a problem because narcissists have an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need to always be right. It's never their fault if something goes wrong. It's always somebody else's mistake. If the narcissist doesn't believe that they're the problem, then they have no reason to change. Just think about it. Change requires an understanding of how your actions affect others. And that's genuine empathy. Narcissists don't have that ability. Now, I'm not saying that you'll never see a narcissist look concerned, especially in public. They sometimes will even mimic emotions because they know that that's what people are expecting of them. The truth is, if you don't care about the pain you're causing, there's no motivation to stop causing it. Yet, so many women have told me, I thought therapy would help. I thought if I loved him enough, he would change. So today we're going to talk about one of the most devastating realities of narcissistic relationships, why therapy generally doesn't fix a narcissist, and how they can actually use it as a tool for concern. Many of the women who shared their stories with me said they were able to get their narcissistic husbands to go to therapy. And for those who managed to get them to return a few times, the outcome was devastating. In almost every case, the husband knew exactly the right words to say and the perfect excuses to make. One of the most shocking and consistent comments I heard was that these women felt their husbands turned on the charm so effectively that the therapist started to side with them. I hate to say it, but this didn't surprise me because narcissists are masters at manipulation. They're charming, persuasive, and very strategic when they want to be. In therapy, they can present themselves as the rational one while painting their partners to be overreactive, emotional, and sometimes even unstable. If the therapist isn't well-versed in narcissistic abuse, they can fall into a trap, mistaking the narcissist's polished, well-rehearsed victim act for reality. Narcissists know how to control the narrative before their partner even has a chance to explain their side. Of course, they're using gaslighting. They rewrite history. They downplay their abuse, and they make their partner question their own memory. There's a scene in Undercurrent that captures this dynamic perfectly. It's when Santino tells Annie that he has 2 tickets to a rock concert, lifts her up in excitement as he brags about their amazing seats. But on the day of the concert, he casually rewrites history and tells Annie, well, you must have misunderstood, and tells her, you knew all along that I was taking my brother, not you. Now, imagine Annie trying to explain this moment to a therapist. How easily Santino could twist her words, turning a deliberate mind game into an innocent communication. Instead of seeing the manipulation, the therapist might view Annie as jealous, ungrateful, or even unreasonable. This is how narcissists use therapy as a weapon, not for healing, but for further control and invalidation. They may say things like, see, even the therapist agrees you overreact. I told you that you are the problem. And if a therapist isn't trained in narcissistic abuse, they might focus on having the couple work on their communication skills, making it seem like they're both equally at fault. If this is the case, the woman can end up feeling even more isolated and blamed. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what about those times when it seems like he actually has changed? Because sometimes it does look that way. Maybe they apologize. Maybe they finally acknowledge some of their behavior. Or maybe just for a moment, you start to believe things will be different. But here's the truth. If a narcissist appears to be changing, it's not likely they really have. More likely is it's because they feel they're losing control. When they sense that you are pulling away, whether you're setting boundaries or threatening to leave, or just not reacting in the way that you used to, they might suddenly be affectionate, attentive, or even remorseful. They might say all the right things. I'll do better. I don't want to lose you. But the moment they feel secure again, the cycle repeats, because real change requires self-reflection, accountability, and the desire to become a better person. And for a narcissist, the goal is maintaining control. So it seems like the real question to ask isn't, can you change a narcissist? It's, how long are you willing to wait for something that will never happen? If you're still in a narcissistic relationship, I want you to hear me. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things, and you are not alone. That's why Are You Annie exists, to validate Annies everywhere, to help you see through our discussions what is real, and to remind you that your voice does matter. If this spoke to you, please share this podcast. Send it to someone who might need it. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button You may be helping me reach someone who needs to be validated, because no one should have to go through this alone. When one Annie tells her story and another Annie hears it, the healing cycle begins, and it keeps going. If you are an Annie, please recognize you're not alone, and we want to validate you. You are stronger than you know, and as always, I want you to be tenacious and never give up on what's important to you. Thank you for listening, and until next time.